Look, we're making the new counterculture whether they want it or not. So who's going to run the non-woke answer to Newsarama or the non-autistic IGN?
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who's running IronAge.media, creating Anvil, the anthology.
Iron Age.
Iron Age. Who even
so-called
knows?
Iron Age. Yeah.
My next co-host, the man who will absolutely make you change. And by making you change, what I mean by that is he is going to help you change from having that story in your head to putting it on paper and putting it into people's hands. And this is the man, the myth, the legend, Daniel P. Riley of whimsyland.org.
Number one Iron Age Booty Daddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Royce. Welcome back to A Drink with Crazy. I am buying a goat. I love goat. We have a show this evening, or we don't, and it all stops here. That's fine. And so cometh the Iron Age of media. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Age Nights. What's going on, everybody?
Hello, hello.
What's up, everybody? Oh my gosh, this is the first Iron Age Nights. That is actually, this is the first not monetized Iron Age Nights, ladies and gentlemen. I just thought about that because we didn't start that until after I got the original channel monetized, didn't I? That's the thing. Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is a long overdue conversation with a fantastic member of our community. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Friday. I am going to shout out really quickly for those of you who are out there who do the super chats and stuff like that. You can still do those on Rumble. If you guys also go to adrinkwithcrazy.locals.com, I do have a live chat over there over on Locals where you guys can also send in super chats and things like that. The reason that I am announcing that is because they are always very, very helpful. They are not necessary. You don't need to do them, but being on an unmonetized channel, it's a big leap of faith on my part, and it's something that until this channel gets monetized and we can kind of go back to the normal flow of things, I do want to announce that. I also have merchandise for you guys to buy, so if you guys are into hats or you guys want any of the cool new like goat shirts or anything like that, because I put those out, you guys should totally go check those out. All of that absolutely helps, and I do appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, let's say hello to the chat before we get into it. Over on the Rumbles, we got Frequency Studios. Dude, you're on the...
Hello, chat.
We got Garham. What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Garham? Over on YouTube, we've got Devil's Air. What's going on, man? Hey, Devil's Air's in here. Gorilla Mar, what's up, everybody? Timo Burnham, how are you doing? Wrangler, dude, you're on the don't associate with the chat. I keep telling, I tell everybody.
Resistance is futile.
Where do you think I came from?
That's scary. Ryson Tucker, what's going on? Daniel, you're in the show. We got Garham over here as well. What's going on, everybody? We've got Maji.
You are afraid of the chat. I was born to it.
All right. It's pretty much. You merely adopted the chat. I was born in the chat, molded by it. I've been told I do a good impression of that, so I don't know. Oxen W, what's going on? We got Liu as well. It's good to see you. Faith Thomas, how are you doing? We got Redoubt Productions as well. He says, touch the button. Yes, everybody. Make sure if you guys are here, absolutely touch the like button. Touch that. But be like Nemo, ladies and gentlemen. Do that thing. And we shall kick it off, ladies and gentlemen. Without any further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy running way too many things all at once. Don't know how you do it. Richard from Iron Age Media. What's going on, man?
A lot of things. I guess the big thing is that speaking of doing a lot of things, I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be going part-time as a host, at least, starting in June. So I wanted to let everybody know. I thought we'd go ahead and get that out of the way so that it wasn't a 9:30 whenever I'm totally incapacitated, trying to tell everybody about that. But other than that, which is not really something that I want to do, but it's just I've got a lot of things going on, and there's even more things spinning up, and it's like I gotta prioritize stuff. So speaking of that other stuff, just Anvil's coming together. For anybody who didn't see on Twitter, and I need to actually shout it out on like Gilded and Discord and whatnot. Issue 6 submissions are open, so that's great. And I've already got a stack of things that I haven't read yet piling up.
There you go.
But yeah, just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of exciting things that are kind of working, and hopefully I'll be able to tell everybody about it here at the end of the month.
Awesome. Yeah, that was that was something that you'd mentioned to us. You're like, hey guys, I'm burning myself out. Like,
yeah,
and yeah, that's one thing. Like, it was like, man, that's going to be a change. That's going to be a change to the show for all of us to get used to.
I'm just excited to see who you find to celebrate Pride Month with. And obviously I thought of John A. Douglas right away, but
we could always have the hedge back on. He can,
I mean, there's
transfer
another
him
candidate
again
for a Pride Month,
right? Yeah,
host.
I
But
gotta even think about that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we are gonna have to find somebody to sit in that corner over there.
Somebody
and
handsome enough to really do the month justice, I figure. So,
God.
So we'll have to spool up another camera and just put that cover voice on the Brides Today catalog.
Yes, there you go. I mean, worst case scenario, we could have a
stand-in.
We could have an AI generated Royce as the Femme Royce.
Oh God, no, that's not not doing that. Absolutely no.
A Royce version of one of them fembots from Austin Powers.
There you go. Herman, if you're out there, you've
Hedge, we're going to talk later.
Abominations. Why not one more?
God. Oh God. Oh, don't put that in the chat. Said God, you guys are delinquents and miscreants. Daniel Riley from whimsyland.org. What's going on, man? How you doing this week?
I am the epitome of burnout.
Huh?
Just no time to do anything. But the comic's all ready for production now. Everything's in.
Awesome.
I've got my variant covers commissioned. They should be in soon. So campaign will be coming in the next couple of weeks. It's crazy getting the second comic out 4 months after finishing the first campaign.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of nuts. That's a fast turnaround. That is
how I
very,
roll.
very fast turnaround. So I will say this. I freaking love it. It's still sitting over here. G Sedai is still sitting over here by Master Chief where he belongs. But dude, I'm super freaking proud of you and everything that you've been doing, man. That's just
Thank you.
Awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't have your books over here or your book over here. I absolutely should have grabbed it. But ladies and gentlemen,
Fail.
it's time. I know it's time to. Yeah, I know. Fail. Yeah, it's over there. I just can't. If I go that way, bad things happen. If I go that way, it's all right. If I go that way,
I can do it.
there you go. Hey, we got Wrangler, ladies and gentlemen, also known as Frequency Studios. With the release of his second book, I'm absolutely glad to have him here. He has been a member of the A Drink with Crazy community for quite a long time. I am very, very glad to have you here. I cannot believe we haven't had you before this, man. You have been a long-requested guest. I can say that. Everybody's like, dude, when you ain't Wrangler on it, we're like, we don't know. Because we never know.
Well, it worked out. This is actually pretty good timing.
Good, man. Good. Well, I'm glad to have you here, dude. Man, and not only that, but you also got, I mean, you also have, a YouTube show that you do every single Monday.
Weekly Wing It.
Yeah, the weekly Wing It, dude, which some of the conversations you guys have in there are just a blast. So
I thought you were going to say an abomination, but a little bit of both.
Well, no, it's your chat. It's not my chat. It's fine. It's fine. It's a blast when it's your chat. When it's my chat, God, fuck.
No, I wasn't talking about the chat. I was talking about the panelists.
Oh no.
There are some. I blame Billy Bob Sack primarily, but yeah, there's some things I wish I could unhear.
Yeah, that's not. You're not gonna.
Yeah,
unhear.
Billy Bob Sack is a lot of what holds that show together. So
No,
they all
I'm
do,
I'm
but
just busting his balls.
Billy Bob Sack actually picks up a lot of the slack that I tend to drop. So,
But
That's funny. I am looking up stuff. So, sir, you have 2 books out now. Haley Star Bad Kitty, and then Bad Kitty Haley's World. And that is part of a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken, that you're planning on.
actually, the current plan is for the mainline series to be 7 altogether.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've already started. I had an idea in mind for a spinoff. I wanted to do a cop drama type thing, like a series of short stories that, similar to a TV series cop drama. You just got episodes where each episode is a case, but there'd be an overline, little bits and things that happen throughout the whole thing to build up to a finale at the end. And I wasn't sure how I was going to do that until, again, it was Billy Bob Sack who said, "Hey, that Shalar thing, we're doing that. We're all writing something." And that actually turned into the first short story in that cop drama.
That's freaking great.
That's awesome.
So yes, it's canon to Haley Star now too.
That's freaking great, man. Oh my God.
I think it was Kiko that started that though, right?
I
The
don't.
Shalar thing, I think it was. It was
Yeah.
a Comic Shop Wednesday. I think it was Kiko.
Yeah. It
who
was a
did
Kiko
that.
troll.
Yeah. Yeah.
Took on a life.
Yeah.
Now it has
really-
become a many splendored thing.
Yeah, that was absolutely nuts.
Hey, because of that, and because Billy Bob Sack picked it up and ran with it and got us all to do something, Maji's got a book soon with that.
Working on it
Yes.
with her.
Yeah. It started as a gag. She has a full-blown novel she's getting together now.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty sweet.
I can't wait to see. I saw previous versions of it from like months and months back. I hear it's quite polished now.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I
Been a
can't
lot of
wait.
fun.
I cannot wait. But
Can't hear you, right?
Royce, we lost your volume.
Sorry. I was like burping and stuff, and I was like, don't want to do that into the mic. No, Maji
would.
Chan has been working hard at that.
Yeah, she is.
So I am freaking I'm waiting for it. I'm
Literary
waiting.
boot camp with me,
Yeah.
as she calls it.
She's also one of the regular panelists when her work schedule allows.
Right, yes. So I am just typing stuff because I'm trying things that I should have done before I started the show. I didn't, and so I'm like, yeah, I just gotta play producer.
Well, do you?
So in
you want me to
honor of
ask
Weekly
the-
Wing It, you're doing it my style.
There you go. I was gonna say, Royce, do you want to ask the proverbial question? The first question.
Oh yes, the proverbial question. Proverbial. That's a high.
All right, I'm ready to dodge the proverbial question. Let's go.
That's all right. All right, dodge it like a politician. Okay. All right. So you've obviously got 2 books out now. You're planning for a 7-book series, and the question with this is, where does this whole thing start with you? Why did you decide to start writing the Haley Star or the Bad Kitty? I guess series. Where does that begin with you?
Actually, much further back than Haley Starr herself. It was early 90s. Started with gaming, tabletop gaming, D&D. Some folks got me into playing some D&D, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I started asking questions, this, that, and the other. And they're like, look, if you want to understand this, you need to actually read. And I've always hated reading. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go read books. Because I come to find out, years later, I have one eye that's slightly off track from the other, and I need to get glasses that are called prismatic lenses. And
Whoa.
yeah, it sounds really cool. Unfortunately, it's as expensive as it sounds. And I was like, no, especially since at the time that it was told to me, I was like, I had nothing going on that required a whole lot of reading. I drive all the time and I listen to talk radio. That was it. But I started reading. He gave me The Crystal Shard by R.A. Salvador.
Hell
and
yeah.
I started reading that, got hooked, and started binging the series. Then branched out a little sort of branched out. And I went to read something outside the series, but it was still by R.A. Salvatore. I started reading a few more of his books, and his book called The Woods Out Back. I don't know what it is about that one, but that one is what made me think I should write something too. Whenever I always skip book reports in school, but whenever they actually did get me to write, they said I write very well. I was like, maybe I could do something. And I started taking a few shots at writing off and on over the next couple of years, but it never went anywhere. And then I was away from that for quite some time. And then back in 2019, me and a friend of mine, we were slightly inebriated on Halloween.
Slightly?
Only slightly, yeah.
Okay,
That's a rare, non-sarcastic version for me.
I just need to make sure, because sometimes people are very serious. They're like, no, it was just slightly.
No, normally I would say that, and it's me being sarcastic. In this case, surprisingly, no.
Yeah, all right. This time I'm actually not trying to downplay it. It actually,
Yeah.
we didn't have as much as we expected.
But I don't know how we got onto the subject, but she said something that made me think of potato guns, and this is how my mind does weird things at the same time. A bit from Jeff Foxworthy popped into my mind where he was talking about career day at school.
Oh my God, I love this one. I know this joke like the back of my hand, dude.
Then he met somebody whose job it was to shoot frozen chickens out of a cannon at the windshield of an airplane. And he's like, they never had a booth for that at career day. Hell, there would have been a line at my school. And he's like, does it have to be a chicken at a windshield? Can't it be like a cat at a billboard? That's what popped to mind at the same time as a little card game called Exploding Kittens. I have never played it, but I've seen it, and the name of it is just funny as hell. But those two things popped together in my mind, and I somehow came up with imagine launching kittens out of a potato gun, and they just burst into a concussive blast of fur on impact. And so she and I were just laughing about this, and all of a sudden she goes, "You should make a game." And I'm like, no, I can't make games. Do you know how complicated that would be? She goes, you should. And she goes, I'm imagining a little blonde girl with pigtails, and pretty much I had the concept of shooting cats out of a potato gun. It landed on her brain like a seed, and she conceived of Haley. But
that's freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah. But somehow I'm the one who went through the labor because I wrote it.
Well,
yeah. And so I started, it kind of, at first I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. But I'm looking at some of the things I love. I'm recently, at that time I was playing Hollow Knight, and these guys were cartoonists before they made this game. And then I look at the whole AM2R thing. This guy, I think he was a sound engineer or something, but he spent 10 years bit by bit and built this awesome thing. I'm like, all right, so it is possible to do this. Everything is just cause and effect. If this, then that. If I sit down, learn this, I'll eventually get it. And spent the next 6 months in Blender trying to build a character mesh. And frustrating myself.
Yeah.
But
So-
as this was going on, I started writing down the outline for the story for the game. And when I was started with an outline, made the mistake of asking, well, why is she here? And that always, well, if this, then why that? If this, then why that? And it just expanded. And instead of writing an outline, I started writing it, in that narrative style that I used to when I was trying to write before. And everything, all the vague ideas, suddenly that sound cool on the surface. I now found myself having to justify it. So I'm expanding it more and expanding it more. And then I would hand this over to some folks I know, say, hey, this is what I'm thinking for a game. What do you think? And they're like, when's the book coming out? And I'm like, no, it's not a book. I want nothing to do with writing a book. And they're like, no, you need to write this. When's it come? I was like, no. But I was bound and determined. I'm not writing a book. I'm going to build this game. And as I'm going along, I started thinking as I was writing it, I'm going to need voice recording. And I'm not an actor. I can't afford actors. I don't know anyone who's an actor. So I said, screw it. I'm going to base every character on someone I know so that way I could have them do the voice recording and it just might sound natural. That was my idea.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, well, that had its own problems that I didn't even realize until I changed it. But I mean, I did go on. Things were getting very frustrating for a while. And I hit a very low point. And it was really messed up depression time. But I hit a point where it's like, I got nothing left but what I'm writing here. It was like the one thing I could even semi-focus on. And for whatever reason, when I was not thinking straight, one thought did hit me. There's no way I'm going to build this game. That's not happening. So I sat down and started writing. And as I was writing, I was just sitting there like, well, who do I know that would be a good fit for this kind of role and that? And I was like, wait a minute. If this is going to be a book now and not a game, and I don't have to do voice recordings, I don't have to shoehorn personalities in where they don't belong. I don't have to base everybody on somebody I know. I can just let the characters be who they need to be.
Yep.
And things just kind of unrolled from there. It was amazing. It was like I blew through like 3 or 4 chapters and then hit the wall and was like, and I hit a point where I'd stop for 2 weeks. I can't think of a thing. And then it would all break loose and I'd start going again. But eventually I got the thing done and I let it sit there for almost a year.
Wow.
I didn't know what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know how to send it to what is it? Send it to Quarry, or I went looking stuff up, and then I started listening to, you know, every wise decision starts with. So I started listening to YouTube videos on this. No, I looked up YouTube videos on it.
Look something up, and it turns out.
Yeah, and I found this video. Reasons why I would reject a manuscript on the first page. And pretty much it was the usual. It was all the usual DEI, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
The only thing on the page says you're white.
Yeah.
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 And it's like, what happened to the good old days when DEI meant Dale Earnhardt Incorporated? I missed that. It's like, what does NASCAR have to do with this? Come on.
I've never heard that one before.
I'm contractually obligated to refer to anything that has to do with that as DIE, according to Flip City Magazine.
Yeah.
I think that's far more appropriate
it's not
anyway.
that anymore. It's all Bridge now. Bridge has been years in the making too. They've been preparing to get rid of the DEI. It's all Bridge, and it's so baked into the larger companies now. It's ridiculous.
What's the other thing? ESG?
Yeah, but that's
it's pretty much the same thing, but
no.
I mean it does the same thing, but has different meaning to do the same thing. I don't know.
It's all DIE.
Yeah. Yeah. ESG sounds like an additive you don't want in your food.
I like MSG.
I like MSG.
That's the problem. I do too, but it's not good for me.
No,
right?
But
it does make things taste good.
I don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, wasn't it the government that said it wasn't good for us? So
That's
I
true.
mean, maybe we ought to
I mean,
rethink
if
it.
we're gonna be really, really honest here, the food pyramid was not designed by the Department of Health. It was designed by the Department of Agriculture. So do with that
Oh,
information
yeah.
what you will.
Oh, and who are those guys that are in the who are holding those positions in the Department of Agriculture? Weren't they like all running agricultural businesses? Which
Yeah.
sounds like
Oh,
it
yeah.
makes well, you think it would make sense. These are the guys who know what's going on. But when you
But
see
it-
the revolving door going on, it's
but
the problem.
It wasn't. Yeah.
That's how power
Mm,
works.
Yep. God, I don't want to get into that. I could totally.
Sure you
Oh,
do.
No, we're not even a half hour in. I can't come off the chain yet.
Try it. You'll like it.
I know. I'm very
We'll let Wrangler tell us a little bit more about.
Right. Call the not that the Department of Health is any good either. Yeah, well, you know what? You're yeah.
One
that's-
little rant's not.
No,
gonna-
I don't fall for tangents. No, not me.
I absolutely do. But that no. Okay, so all right. So this was a labor of love that took a couple of different shapes before you got it. You ended up getting the book together like a year before it was. So like editing process, finding editors and stuff, or like you just sat on it like nothing. Like just it was done and it just sat there. No editors, no nothing working.
Oh
on
no,
it.
it went through some editing.
common.
I read through and kept
Oh.
retweaking every time I read through. I go, I don't like how that sounds or whatever. Retweak and tweak, but I knew I needed an actual editor before I'm going to put this out there.
Right.
And I will credit this thought. I heard this from Daniel Green watching one of his videos when he was saying indie publishing can get a bad reputation, and bad editing is part of the problem. So if you're putting a book out there as an indie, get a good editor, make sure it's checked, don't be part of the problem. And that was sticking in my head. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I know my grammar is not the greatest. I need to get a pro to look this over once. But I looked around, couldn't find one, and then I went back to Fiverr, and the last time I looked, Fiverr didn't have any editors, and then this time, boom, editors. I'm like, yes. I don't know if I was looking on the wrong page or if they just suddenly if it was a new edition at the time, and I found Pocket Editing on there. Marissa Gordon, she's my editor, and
That's awesome.
yeah, she read through it. She took care of. I mean, not obviously things still slip through. I went through it multiple times. She went through it multiple times, and then when you afterwards, like, you open up to a page and like, oh, missed one. But a lot of what she changed, she caught a lot of mistakes I did not, and then. Yeah, so not only did she edit it, she formatted it for me because I don't know the computer stuff at all. Even though I tried to tackle making a video game, I still can barely figure out the user interface on half these websites. So she formatted it for Kindle and for print. And
Damn.
Fiverr is also where I found my cover artist, Adrian DKC. He did both covers.
How long ago was that? Because I have heard Fiverr is hit and miss now. Like
Super
It can be. Adrian DKC was not my first artist, and I'm not gonna name the first artist. She kind of just disappeared on me, which is the first. I figure I must have done something wrong. I must have pissed her off. I don't know.
Right.
I tried to contact her once more or twice more after she just stopped responding. Nothing. So I was like, you know what? She gave me a super low price anyway. I already have some artwork out of it. I'm just going to let it go and find somebody else. I didn't want to. I mean, I went back and looked, and she does fantastic work. And some of the reviews are saying, she's got a bit of a punctuality problem. She's a little slow, but her work is fantastic, and she was still making deliveries and getting good ratings. And I'm like, I'm not going to make a complaint or anything. If most people are still like absolutely enthralled with her work and they're getting good stuff out of her, I'll let that be. But I
Right.
got a couple. I got a couple really nice pics of Haley and Elizabeth that she drew, and I have this is what it is. Moved on. Adrian DKC knocked it out of the park,
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
and hopefully my experience with her was a fluke, because I really do love her work, and I would like to see her not have problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Andrew Campbell wants to know where you've been, where you get your ideas from.
I'm not sure.
He just
I drive for a living, so I'm behind the wheel by myself 90% of the time, and I have a really odd sense of humor, so just things mix in my head all day long. Drive myself insane, but
right.
like the
Sounds
whole,
about right.
like for example, the magic system and the physics of the world in the books,
Mm-hmm.
I did not come up with right before the book. I really like watching or listening to those the versus channels where they all the fictional like Death Battle, Danco,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, what is a good basic magic system that kind of, I mean, there's never going to be a fits all adapter type, but I wanted one that could I want to come up with one that makes sense, and almost no matter what system you pluck a character from, it could translate to this in a fairly simple way. And I was like, how would the physics work? And I thought about it and I came up with my own magic system, and that's what's in the book now.
Nice.
But the physics of the universe was a little bit later. I started learning about electric universe theory, and I was like, no black holes, wormholes, time dilation, all that shit that I can't figure out that doesn't make sense. It's not there. I'll take it. I'm using this as my physics system, and actually, it worked out. It allowed me to. It worked well with the magic system, very well. So it just all kind of clicked together nicely.
So what? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that. The electric universe.
It's an alternative cosmological theory. It's not the mainstream. You know how pretty much they go, okay, look at the galaxy. It's all held together by gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't have enough.
Can fucking explain.
Yeah, we don't have enough matter here to make the gravitation. So there must be stuff we can't see that's dense, and that's where they come up with the ideas of black holes and stuff.
Okay.
And dark matter, and electric universe says, electromagnetic fields. You ever see the pictures of the universe where there's like this interconnected web of energy holding all the galaxies together? Those are called Birkeland currents. And that's what's powering everything. According to this theory, stars are not internally fueled. They're externally fueled by these giant plasma flows called Birkeland currents. And you see the plasma arms, those are currents spiraling out. And what would happen is these Birkeland currents, they twist much like a double helix. And if you get a Z pinch, it condenses so much, forming matter, and that's where you start to get stars and planets and everything. Thing is, people go, well, where's all this energy come? It's electrical. It's a circuit. You got to have power, load, ground. Where's it all coming from? Where's it all going to? And how can you tell the age of the universe? And they simply say, we don't know, and we can't. There's like, he said, are we really arrogant enough to think we can figure out exactly the beginning of the universe at our stage of technology? That's ridiculous. And I don't totally disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are aspects of both that somewhere between the two, they might have the answer, but I really do like electric universe because time dilations and black holes never really made much sense to me.
There was a theory. It's funny you mentioned that because I'm trying to find there was some very particular phrase that was used for this, but essentially it's the idea of remote particle interaction where and they actually were proving this out somewhat, and it's one of the first indicators that you could have something like that, but also it has implications for things like paired FTL communications and things like that, right?
Oh, cool.
And the idea essentially is that occasionally particles will interact, they'll be drawn to each other far beyond what their electromagnetic
The action at a
range
distance?
is. Yeah, and so
Yeah,
it's
that's
like a
string theory, if I'm not mistaken, or
no,
Or quantum entanglement.
quantum entanglement. Thank
quantum
you.
entanglement is its own like whole set of things.
Yeah.
But this is like one of the first indications that there could be something actually along those lines. There was like real hard science actually done in that direction. And so I don't know, that's interesting. I do think that I'm an engineer by trade, and I hypothetically know all this physics stuff and everything else, but I also realize that a lot of all this physics theory, once you condense it down, it just becomes like the constant W, and then you just use that same number every single time because you know what I mean.
But what if that W
All this
was
fancy
an
theory-
improper variable?
Well, or ultimately the whole reason why you go to that constant is that there's one factor that just overwhelms all the other lesser factors, so you don't even have to care about those lesser factors. And maybe there's even more minute factors that we're not aware of that could be that we could be looking at, and so on and so forth. But anyway, just interesting. Sorry, I didn't want to derail too much.
It made me think of, I like how I watched a video where they had a demonstration the other day of gravity and addressing the whole thing where they say electric universe people don't believe in FTL. And he said, well, the model actually kind of requires it. And believe it or not, so doesn't the standard model. They both require FTL. And here's why. It takes about 8 minutes for light to get to us from the sun, or from the sun to us.
Mm-hmm.
We're orbiting the sun, but we're not orbiting the sun 8 minutes where it was 8 minutes ago. We're orbiting the sun where it is right now. Gravity is kind of an instantaneous. So there was two guys holding a rope and they were just swinging it, making it wave. If they're like, if gravity is a wave, I don't think so. And they're like, this is a wave. It needs a medium to flow through. But gravity, he just yanks and he goes, but that's gravity. It was instant.
Yeah.
So yeah. If you have a rope long, over a light year long, and you hold it taut and one person pulls, they feel at the other end instantly.
Yeah.
So yeah, information can be passed faster than the speed of light.
Yeah, it's all very interesting as far as the theoretical physics and all that jazz. I don't know, but yeah, I do agree that generally speaking, probably a lot of what is accepted as definitive fact these days, there's going to be some major, like, oh well, that we thought that, but that ended up being not quite right, and because that wasn't quite right, that has a whole bunch of knock-on effects and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but the problem is, when you get to a point where you're starting to realize this, people will buck, not because they're bad people, but imagine being a scientist. And let's just say, as a hypothetical, we suddenly find out string theory is a bunch of BS. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying as a hypothetical.
Yeah.
If you're a scientist who put the last 60 years of your career working on string theory, you're not going to accept that. I mean, you reach a certain point where you can't let that go. And that's unfortunately why they say science advances one funeral at a time. Well, yeah, like
never heard that either. That's
really, yeah.
I have.
Yeah, because
interesting.
so those who got to the top, who have been around the longest, but are holding on to the ideas that aren't quite holding up anymore.
It makes sense.
Well, and also, I mean, at the end of the day, science is like universities and much of the academic structure, certainly these days, is more about politics and successful. Even in the past, you look at who gets the credit for the most inventions. It's usually successful businessmen as well. So if you aren't basically brilliance isn't the single most valuable skill or trait within
what
academic study, usually, for better or worse.
One thing that I like, you talk about businessmen and things like that, like you say it's not brilliance, but one thing that I've noticed is like ruthlessness. Like,
well,
I mean, a lot of the people that we know of in history, even in like the business and scientific worlds, were just utterly fucking ruthless, and they were men of their time, and this, that, and everybody knew who they were. And it really wasn't until years later, even after their death, where they were proven wrong. But being completely ruthless to the competition and just burying them was, I mean, that goes on in the scientific community. And
oh yeah, they got to pull for clout within their own circles too.
oh yeah, yeah, like
When it comes down to it, they're all human.
oh yeah. No, it's nuts. I've seen some documentaries on stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, no, why this guy was absolutely right at his time, and when but during the time that he was saying it, everybody fucking hated him, and he was literally ostracized and died broke. And
Like the guy who suggested doctors should wash their hands between patients.
oh my god, yeah, oh, he was eviscerated.
That guy had the most unfair end to his life for the dumbest reason.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was like, hey, like the women that I'm treating are dying a lot less because I wash my hands in between delivering babies. And they told him that he was a quack. He didn't know what he was talking about. There's nothing to prove that washing your hands in between delivering babies was that they were like, oh, it must be something else. It's where you live. It's yeah. And like, oh my God, I cannot, he ended up, like he was ostracized. I wanted to say they tried to strip his
he ended up
away.
He ended up in a mental hospital and he died in there. And then after he died, all the doctors started saying, maybe he was right.
Yeah.
A little too late there, but
yeah. Well, and it's because even after he went away, all of his the midwives and the nurses and everybody that worked for him kept doing it and refused to not. I think was part of it, if I remember correctly, because they were there. They actually saw the benefit to washing your hands in between delivering babies. I want to stress that point, like. Probably the most vulnerable that a woman and a child can. And here's the thing is it saved not just the women, but children as well. And it's like, oh my God, the scientific community is so fucking stupid. Who was it, Einstein, that said that
they're human?
You just have to ask the right question. It's not about being particularly smart. You just have to ask the right question. So yeah, I just, oh my gosh, dude, it's so freaking ridiculous. Some of this stuff. God, we haven't had a conversation like this in a while. I dig it. Richard's like, hey guys, I'm gonna be leaving as a host. I'll be back once in a while, and we're just like, yeah, we're starting it.
And then they bring it full nerd.
The fire rises.
The fire rises. We're just waiting to set the thing on fire. He's like, not yet. So
not yet.
We have to wait
when
until
I damn well please.
June, right? We say that, but Richard keeps us on the rails.
Not for long.
Not for long.
Where are you going to be hosting?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no! I mean, I'm not doing anything that I'm aware of. You know what I mean? I do have on Saturdays. I started. Oh dear. I'm going to start doing
the chair of power just exploded.
Yeah, somebody's got plans. No, I was going to start doing like occasional live streams. Like on Sundays, I still do the chill streams sometimes. I've kind of cut back on those. I'm probably going to do one this Sunday. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, I'm going to have a follow-up to my 40K Creative Crunch, which was just sort of like looking at 40K, figuring out what was really great about it, breaking down some things. And I'm going to have TJ Marquis on there. And,
oh, nice. I love the Black Saint. Oh, no, wait. No, that was Tim O'Burnham. TJ Marquis, I have his book, Quest of Lance.
What is the other one? Black.
He's got quite a few.
Black
Heroes
Sky
Medal.
And then he's also
How
got
Black the Sky. That's Heroes Medal.
Yeah, he does have quite a few. Yeah.
And the lit RPG, I think it's called Bloodborne.
Yeah.
He's
got Bloodborne, and he's.
Yes, when I got a Bloodborne Quest of Lance.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. But he's always doing stuff, and and he's the one who wrote the treatment for the helm over there. So that's going to be an issue number 4 of Anvil. So he's all over the place, but I figured I'd bring him in. He's a good resource, and yeah, the 40K stream was a lot of fun, and I was a little bit zoned out from it because everything went wrong. I used Talk Studio to set it up, and Arch was like, "Oh, let's do." Like, we somehow got off by an hour, and so there was like a whole bunch of chaos right before the stream. So
What the fuck is Talk Studio?
it Talk Studio. So stream. Hold on. We are on StreamYard. So Streamlabs, which is what I paid for already.
Right.
It's what I use to stream normally and record my videos. It's basically just like a version of OBS, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I record all of my videos with.
Yeah.
I actually have OBS Studio specifically set for live streams, and then I have Streamlabs set for video recording. So I actually use both programs.
Interesting. Well, if you have a Streamlabs subscription, you can get access to Talk Studio, which is a obvious clone of StreamYard, and with a few other things. Although I was just using it for a meeting the other day, and I kept having people blink out of existence. So I'm not really sure if it's ready for prime time or not. But right now, I've already paid for it, and you can have like 15 people on screen if you wanted to.
Yeah, if it's gonna Thanos snap half your panel, that might be a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always wanted to test out Video Ninja, because actually that's how I was able. That is the only way that I was able to get me, my wife, and both of our gameplays on camera at the same time for like the Power World.
Oh yeah,
streams. Like that was a pain in the ass to figure out, but I've not seen a lot of people do that.
Yeah, you could probably do it with Streamlabs, but it would be tricky.
Yeah, well, I know exactly. I mean, dude, video.ninja works absolutely fantastic for that. What's so funny too is I'm like, hey, yeah, babe, we're gonna do this live stream, and she's like, sweet, and she's like, so the guys are gonna like see like my gameplay too, and I was like, well, no, and she's like, oh, well, why not? I'm like, I don't even know if you can do that, and she's like, well. And she's like, well, don't everybody else? I'm like, no, like nobody else. So, dude, I spent a week looking into it, figuring it out, setting it up. And I was like, all right. The only problem is that it would not just source. Because of the way that it sources, I couldn't actually get her gameplay audio. But I could source her gameplay. And she and I would join in Guilded. I made a whole bunch of specialized scenes, cropped a whole bunch of stuff. I got both of our gameplay up, and I was like, this is freaking cool. Like, I've never seen anybody else do 2-person game streams, and you could flip back and forth in perspectives in the game. Like, and it was admittedly a pain in the ass, but it was like, dude, it was really freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
So stop talking.
I'm gonna have to check
that sounds way too complicated for me to pull off.
It is not. It's just 90% of it is setup. Once you get it set up and you have all the stuff that you need, which I've been doing OBS stuff for years. But yeah, look into VDO.ninja, dude. It's freaking awesome.
And I'm so grateful you took the time to show me how to use OBS.
Oh yeah, dude. No, yeah.
I got the capture card. And OBS is the only way I can get it to pop up on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
But between OBS and Clipchamp, which I didn't realize until the other day, I had to go to someone's house, so I took the computer with me. I figured I'll work on some video editing while I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
I already got the recording done. I'll just edit it and I'm actually saying it right. I used to say chip clamp all the time by accident. But I got there and I sat down, opened it up, went to start editing. It says, you need an internet connection. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. The whole time I've been using it, had Wi-Fi. I had no idea it required internet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought it was all being processed internally in my computer. No, it's being worked on in a cloud and then downloaded.
Yeah.
Yep.
that's one of the reasons that like my software that I have, like I always tell everybody, like anytime you're gonna get software, especially like editing software, you can get one of these for $20. It's a disk drive, runs on USB. Like I have it over here because like there are programs that I have that if for some reason they crash because of an update or something, I can get rid of them and I can pop the discs in and re-download them. Just that easily. And people are like, oh, well, you can also do that if they're on the cloud. I'm like, until they stop supporting them.
Yeah, if I have something, I prefer I not require an internet connection just to use it or access it. Like word processors, it used to be, I mean, the autosave is really nice, but it used to be that it was all in the computer. Now it's, oh yeah, open up your word processor and get your latest document back off the cloud. You know,
I'm working around that, which is funny. And the reason that I'm working around that is because years ago, I worked for a company years ago. God, almost a decade ago at this point, and I needed a computer to do my job. My boss was like, "Hey," he's like, let's head over to the Best Buy or whatever store it was." He's like, "We need to buy you a computer." And so the company bought me a computer and I just paid it back over the course of time. And my boss bought me like a really nice laptop. It's kind of beat up, old and abused now, but at the time, 10 years ago, it was a really good freaking laptop. And he bought me the Microsoft Word like student pack thing. And so I just scanned that, used that, and now it's on my Microsoft account permanently. So every time I get a new computer, I log into my Microsoft account, and they've buried it now. Like, it's hard for me to find, but I literally go and just bloop, and I just put Microsoft Word and stuff from like 10 years ago on all of my systems now. It's awesome.
my dad still has a computer with XP on it.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Just because the drafting program, he can use that better than the current drafting programs.
Wow.
And that's another thing. He said it used to be you buy the program and it's all right there in your computer. It's yours. Now it's a different business model. You don't buy the program.
Yeah, you rent
you subscribe to it.
Yep. It's a rental service. Everything is there. They're trying to go to rental services now.
You will own nothing and you will be happy.
Insane.
Oh, don't get me started.
Too much.
Why are you trying to get me started?
I'm not. It's just that's kind of,
I know.
unfortunately, I think the whole intention behind that shift in model.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get where you're at.
Passive income.
That's why I keep saying get physical copies.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say get physical. I was like, wait, what? Get physical. Stop. Whoa! Oh no! Oh,
You know,
the laptop is yours. Fuck you, Mario Trujillo. Sorry. I try not to respond to the chat while we're having conversation, but the chat pisses me off sometimes.
Good
that's their
chat.
job.
I guess it's almost nice being on a channel that they can't super chat, because now they can't throw money at me to insult me. Now that they just have to regular insult me.
Dance,
So,
monkey, dance.
I know. I'd be like, I'm throwing money at you, Royce. No, you can't. You can't throw money at me here. Ha! Fuck you, chat.
But you forget how aggressively we support you.
Right? I just fuck. I'll be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Oh,
JVP
God.
with a timely comment there. There we go. All right.
That's true. That's very true.
So
So
I was going to ask before we hit the 9 o'clock mark and go completely or even more off the rails here. You've got 7 books.
Well, I have 2 so far.
Well, okay, sorry, not have 7 books, but you've got plans for 7 books.
2 fired, 7 in the chamber.
Yeah. What like do you have a timeline on when you're thinking that you'll be getting these out, or are there any other projects that you're working on, or anything else?
Yeah, the timeline when they're going to come out, I'm not sure, because the first 2 they happen pretty much back to back. Even though the first book has its own is a satisfying ending conclusion, the second one builds off it and comes to a conclusion that dealt with stuff that was hinted at in the first. Now, in the first book, Haley and Elizabeth are 10. In the second, they're 11.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we get to the third, it's 18 years later. They're 29.
Oh,
Because, yeah.
okay. I didn't realize there was going to be that big of a jump.
Big time jump.
Well, pretty much the first 2 books is their origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we pick up with them as adults, because I have no idea how to write a believable and compelling teenage girl. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm going to skip the teen years because that's too complicated for my autistic brain. I'll never figure that out.
Fair.
But
you could always bring in a 16-year-old girl as like a sensitivity reader. I'm sure that would go wonderfully.
I'd rather not. But I'm not sure that I'm going to stick to this. I have the basic timeline figured out.
Mm-hmm.
But the next book is, first I have Haley Star Bad Kitty and then Bad Kitty Haley's World.
Mm-hmm.
The next 2 books are supposed to happen simultaneous, and one is going to be Mystified Investigations and the other is going to be United States Stellar Marshals. Haley and Elizabeth are in them both.
Awesome.
And then the follow-up, a second Mystified and Stellar Marshals, and then the series will be capped off by Bad Kitty Morningstar's Shadow. And so that's all going to be happening. The first book starts off in October of 98, and all takes place in one day. The second book picks right up from there and covers the course of just over a year. It ends in January 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other projects, I have the New World Detectives, which are in Haley's timeline after what happens in the second book.
Mm-hmm.
Things as far as general living change in her world, in her universe completely. Because imagine all the conspiracy theories about the more advanced tech and stuff. The government has more tech, or this more tech exists, but it's being suppressed and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if those conspiracy theories were real, and then it all got put out to the public.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So that happens in 2000. So in July of 2000 in LA, it's a team of detectives who are trying to deal with things in this changing world where teleportation technology is suddenly being made available to them, and people are developing abilities now because that's part of the magic system. Like every sentient being has their own energy field. It's like everybody's just generating this energy at all times. And magic happens when someone can consciously tap into their field, raise and direct that energy to produce a result.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, there have been diminishing frequencies embedded in all the broadcasts and stuff that prevented people from being able to connect with their field. But if you're already connected, that won't stop you. And
Gotcha.
what you would need to stop you is a full-blown disruption emitter. But the diminishing frequencies, that way, those who are controlling could have their guys who already have abilities go in and use them, but prevent anybody who might be able to conjure some up from ever even knowing they have them. All those are gone now, so people are suddenly starting to develop abilities. And this is the world that they have to deal with. Things like, hey, we just hacked in and found out their port gate sent them over to this place. That means they're doing things we shouldn't. It's like, yeah, well, regulations are still a little fuzzy about this, but there's not a judge in the county who's going to see that as any different than tapping a phone line without a warrant. This is inadmissible, and this is the kind of stuff they're dealing with.
Interesting. I'm excited to see everything that you have coming forward with this, and the way that you're kind of tying all this together with a what would you call it, like existing theories in a fun way.
Yeah,
I like that. Did you, as you were creating this, and people that you talked to or had beta read, I mean, did you have anybody come back with like a twist or an idea or some feedback that really changed the course of things for you, or at least early on in the process?
I have to say, I didn't really have any beta readers for the most part in the first book.
Yeah.
I'm lucky it came out as well as it did because I didn't have the feedback.
Yeah.
I had feedback from two people. One was going to be encouraging no matter what. I appreciated hearing it, and I believe she meant what she said, but I needed a more objective. I had one other who did read it, and she would be far more objective. If she didn't like it, she'd say so. But it's pretty much a yeah, I liked it, or yeah, I didn't. That was the best I was going to get.
Yeah.
And she said, "Hey, this is a great book, and I think it'd make a great movie." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And then later she sent me a text a couple days later. Goes, "Actually, this might make a great game." I was like, "Well, I hope so."
Yeah.
But that was it. That was all my feedback. The only other feedback I got was, well, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
But, and some people read a couple chapters like, "Hey, yeah, it looks pretty cool," but then never picked it back up because they're not readers. And
yeah, no, I understand. I have kind of decided that my advice to any indies, and Daniel, you can chime in here with your thoughts, but I would say anybody who's just getting feedback from either friends, family, or just, amateur beta readers, you really just want to know, I was interested, I was bored, I was confused. You know what I mean?
May I chime in a little bit? Never, ever, ever choose friends and family to give you feedback.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, if you're doing it, if you're doing it and you got nobody else to read your stuff, I still think it's probably better to have somebody.
Well, thankfully, on round 2, I had Garham, I had Maji Chan, and I had King Bob.
Yeah, a lot of the crew to.
Yeah, like if I were to write a book, I would probably. I don't even know who I would pick. I would probably try to pick people in the Gilded who are definitely more highly critical of me, like specifically of me, like
so you would hire Herman.
No, well, no, I don't even know that, because like he and I bust each other's balls a lot, but it's like, but man, because I did the music thing for a lot of years, and friends and family just I don't think are a good metric for like, oh, this is good, oh, this isn't good, so on and so forth. It's really difficult with friends and family because they like want to be supportive, and they're like, oh yeah, no, that was great, and you're like, I don't know. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
It's more situational than that, and that's part of the problem. So beta readers, we'll just stick with that as the core concept here. A beta reader that doesn't know you can be openly objective. A beta reader that knows you is going to be subjective because they know you.
Yeah,
they're familiar.
If that's the case, I hate to think what King Bob would have said if he didn't know me.
But that's generally how it works. It's a lot more psychosocial than you might realize. The people that you are around, they know you, and they have a better capacity to infer concepts because they know how you present things.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then they're just going on what's on the page. And that's Maji Chan can tell you that's me when I work with anybody or do an editing project. I don't think about the person. I just think about the words on the page. It has absolutely nothing to do with you as the author.
That right there was kind of the premise behind Comic Shop Wednesday, and why it was important to like bring on like different people from the community every week to get them involved, and not just a good way for me to interact with my community, but to bring them on because it's a lot of times we're seeing projects for the very first time. Some people we know, some people we don't. But when we choose something from a person that we don't know, especially, like, we can give that, hey, at a glance, this is what this looks like to somebody who is not familiar with you at all. And so when we give genuinely positive or genuinely negative feedback, it is a thing. And I mean, we've also given negative feedback to people who are in the community and all that. But yeah, it's a big thing.
There's a certain comfortability factor in talking to someone you know, because you know how to communicate with them, versus talking to someone you don't know.
Oh, but I don't want to undersell King Bob, though. When I say beta, that's probably incorrect. He did more of developmental edit type stuff with me.
Yeah, there's so many different types of like editing and whatnot to be done. It's you know,
Yeah. But
there's
he
different people are good at different
saved me from a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, developmental editing is the most difficult part of the process.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but like there was one part I didn't think anything of it. It just didn't stick in my head. But when he was going through, he highlighted a whole half paragraph. He's like, "What's this?" And it was part of some system that I was originally going to explain that I realized had no bearing on the story. So I just removed it entirely. And there was like little bits left there that I forgot about. And he's like, huh? And then another thing where when you
By the
have
way,
context in your
King
head,
Bob says, "Thank you, Wrangler. You're awesome." Over on Rumble.
thank you, King Bob, Lieutenant Bob on Rumble.
Yep.
He will
But,
always be Bob to me.
Yeah. When we're writing something, we have all the context in our head. So it's a lot easier for us to think something is coming across nice and clear when it's not. Anyone outside the head looks at it and goes, what?
Yep.
And I was so, I don't know what happened when I wrote this sentence, but I was trying to explain somebody just taking a chair out from behind one desk and moving to another. And the words were just so bad that King Bub had no idea what I was trying to say in that paragraph. So I don't know if I fell asleep at the keyboard or what, but I went back to read that. I'm like, now I'm kind of embarrassed. You know?
I don't think there's anything. I don't know. I feel like writing is one of those things where so much of it is trying to get things on the page, and I mean, I'm not a fiction writer, but anytime I write something else, you know, I have the same tendency to be like, okay, I'm going to be working on this and I want to convey this idea. And actually, no, I don't. Like, you get to the end of the sentence and you're like, this is turned into a run-on sentence. I'm going to chop it in half. And then you're like, but I still want to convey this other part. And then by the time you've gotten done mutilating the two sentences, like if you just skip
got
over
4
them,
paragraphs.
you're like, oh yeah, that looks good. And then like you have to come back later and read it and you're like, what the hell? I just said the same thing like basically 3 times, you know. Or and none of those 3 things actually completed the thought that I was trying to get across to begin with. So
Same thing happens in fiction writing.
I mean, I'm sure it's basically the same thing.
Oh, I've spent hours on 2 sentences before going, that just doesn't look. I mean, I wasn't in front of the computer for the straight 2 hours, but I sit there. You see, I stand. I don't sit in front of my computer. I'll sit there. I'm working on the sentence and I'll get frustrated, walk away, go do something for a couple minutes, come back to it, work on it more. And 2 hours will go by, and I'm putting it back to the way it was.
Right? Yeah.
Overthinking is like something when it comes to writing. It's like I just that, and that is something that, and it doesn't matter how long of a thing that you're writing. It doesn't matter whether it's a song. It doesn't matter if it's a poem. It doesn't matter if it's a book, a full novel, whatever. Anything that you write, the longer that you think about it, the more that you will have issues with it. And one of the greatest things that I've heard is like, man, you got to be like a 90% guy. It's like you can go 10% one way or the other, but eventually you just got to let what you've, but not saying that you don't go over it, your first draft, your second draft, all that stuff, but eventually you have to just leave it, because some people just sit there and go, oh, it's not perfect, it's not perfect, it's not perfect. And guess what? It's never going to be. So you got to get it like 90%. It's like, all right, cool. I'm happy. It's close, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes the biggest battle is just getting the first draft down, because from there you can go back, reread it, and fine tune it as you go over and over and over again. It's like the tough part at that point is done. The rest is tedious, but coming up with the first draft, because that did not exist before you made it, that's the tough part.
Right.
That's why you can see a lot of people who sit there and say, oh, here's a story. Here's how to fix a story, which I love. Yeah. You've probably seen those videos where like this YouTuber takes this movie plot and says, here's how it could have been really good. Here's how to fix it. You know, And that does take a degree of intelligence and talent, but it's not the same as coming up with it the first time. That's for me. That's the tough part, is squeezing that out the first draft, because it is a lot easier to work with something once it's there than just kind of imagine it into being.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Keep it simple, stupid.
Pretty much.
I try.
That's what I tell myself all the time.
All right.
I'll get deep in the weeds with all kinds of like Tolkien level detail and description when I'm writing, and then I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, the first redraft is usually, what am I taking out?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, what so writing scripts for videos and stuff right now, because I'm trying to shoot for like 10 to 20 minute videos. And I have a rough idea of how many words can be spoken, especially because I can speak pretty fast, of how many words, like for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, how many words do you need to have? And like I have worked for the last so many years to make like what I say in a video succinct to a point where it's like exactly 10 minutes, that when I'm writing a script out, like I'm like, oh shit, I need to add more to this. Like I gotta add some fluff. I gotta add some spice. I'm like, oh shit. Like I have the exact opposite problem. Like taking stuff out. I'm like, shit, what do I add? I'm like, because I'm just like so matter of fact, like to the point, and I'm just like, oh, this is like, I'm like, okay, I gotta add here. I gotta add a little bit more. Like it's bad. I am in the total opposite space right now for my video scripts. It's weird.
Script writing is condensing down in any form.
Yeah, but the problem is that for YouTube script writing, it's you got to be entertaining. Like I said, I know all my points that I want to hit, so I start writing the script, and I get like all my points that I hit, and I'm just like, oh, this is going to be a 3.5 minute long video.
Yeah, speechwriters have that problem all the time.
Oh, dude, and I'm like, but they're like, I'm like, wait a minute, it's gonna be 3.5 minutes, and I want it to be at least like 10 to 20 minutes, because I like the format of personally as what I want to watch. I want it to be 10 to 20 minutes long, usually, sometimes even longer, and so I'm just like, oh, I need to. Yeah.
Usually 10 to 15 minute videos is that sweet spot for looking for something to watch for me.
Yeah.
Because of the space between deliveries.
Imagine being that guy who has been slated for an hour-long auditorium speech and blows through their content in a half hour.
Yeah, dude, I am realizing I've heard a lot of other people do it. Like, it's like you write and then leave yourself room to ad-lib. And I am absolutely leaving myself room. It's like, okay, like I might even put like little points in here where I'm like, okay, I think I can ad-lib here. Because then I'm just going to kind of rant a little bit in the videos and just use what I've been doing. But yeah, I had to do public speaking as a kid. That's one thing so yeah. And what they used to do is they would do school speeches, and it was fourth grade through 12th grade. And you had to do speeches, and they had to be at least, I think all of them had to be at least so many minutes long. And the student who won, and this was a very poor private school, but we go up there on the podium and we have to present in front of the whole school, and to incentivize people to actually do their research and all this stuff, because speeches were every 2 weeks. So you had 2 weeks. You'd pick a topic, you'd have to read up on it, you'd have to write, you'd have to draft, all that stuff. It's actually schoolwork, and this wasn't like, and this wasn't writing, this was writing, right? This was like, and they would grade you on your penmanship and all that stuff too. So, and you'd have to do 2 or 3, 500 or 1,000 word speeches, handwritten in cursive, and they would dock you on everything. So like you could fail, but the winner of the school speeches would get $20. So that was kind of like the incentive. It's like, hey guys, you do a really good job. And so we used to do that. And so I learned very, very young how to do speeches in front of people. So like that I can do. But do you have to do the oration metronome? No. That was a pain in the ass. No, you got to put psychological stress on yourself. Try to concentrate on a speech with the thing going tick, 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 no,
in the background.
the whole reason
End up turning it into a rap.
dude.
Yes.
That for me comes from being on stage as a musician, and I can just start rattling stuff off, and that is utter like, dude, I would still to this day, I will still get butterflies in my stomach if I go to perform in front of somebody like musically. Always have. I can go stand up in front of people, talk, present, doesn't matter, does not bother me. 100 people, 1,000 people, does not bother me. I can go talk with people all day long. Get up there, put a guitar in my hands. It's time to sing a song. It's time to like play. Like I will be like, my knees will shake until about halfway through the first song, and then I'm like, all right, I'm good. I can do that. It's crazy. But yeah, totally.
I totally relate. In second grade, I did a performance of "Rocking Around the Clock," and I was real nervous until about halfway through the song, and then I got it.
I was in my
I just nailed it.
I was in my mid-20s playing for
Attaboy.
like music.
Mid-20s in second grade, Royce.
No, fuck off.
I had no idea.
We know he's a slow learner. It's fine.
No wonder you were in a special school. I didn't.
Right. A poor school.
No, I
special
know.
school. Fuck. Oh shit. Oh man. So Wrangler, you've talked a lot about the magic system in your world and stuff like that. And I actually know from Maji Chan, who's read your first book. I have not gotten around to it yet because I am terrible at getting around to things. But you actually bring in a lot of different like deities and a different and different things like that, not just from Christian ideology, but and you also have a magic system in place kind of based around those things. And like, I've been actually really interested in talking to you about that and like where you're pulling from with some of these with some of these concepts that you're working for in your book.
Well, the magic system, like I said, is connecting with your own energy field, raising and projecting that to produce a result. And the idea is everybody is constantly generating energy. However, you start using it. As I said, this was originally conceived as a video game. Mm-hmm. And I see every time I have an action scene or something going on, in my mind, I see a health bar and an energy bar over her head.
Right.
So
you got your health bar, you got your mana bar. Manage those.
Yeah, exactly. And so if I'm thinking of it in that terms, that means I have to keep things pretty consistent here. So I got to think her casual blast, how much damage does that do? Her charged blast when she's projecting her energy. If she uses this ability, how quickly does it come back? And so the thing is, as she's using energy, it is constantly replenishing, but depending on what she's doing, she could chew through it a lot quicker than it comes back. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, with her being so new to it, even if she doesn't run out of energy, she's constantly using it a little too much. She's going to get burnt out. She's suddenly going to get lightheaded, fall over, because her body's not, as she goes on, she could build up more tolerance to that.
Right.
And in fact, that kind of happened in the second book when one of the girls had something that enhanced their energy production and she burned out. Like, that hasn't happened in a long time. What was going, because she didn't realize she had an item that was doubling. So her energy was coming back quick. So she kept throwing her abilities around and burned herself right out. Like, whoa, that's been a while since I did that. How'd that happen? And I got to keep all these things in mind as I'm figuring out, okay, I got to think how strong are they really? How much force does something like this in the real world? How much force would that take? So could she do it? Yes, no. I got to constantly keep all that in my head.
Oh, so you're doing like Dragon Ball Z math.
No. I'm trying to keep things just. Isn't their math it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, I think. I could be wrong. I'm not a watcher of the show, but it seems like they have no limits.
Well, yeah, they have limits for the foe that they're facing. And I think that the issue is especially when you're like a manga or visual medium, like an anime, is like, okay, well, we need to make this visually look like they're actually fighting somebody that is much stronger. And so the power scaling stuff, it gets
power creep.
Yeah, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I call it punching people, and everybody disagrees. They're like, no, punching people is not the best part of an anime. It's actually the interpersonal connection between. Shut the fuck up. I want to see somebody.
No, the process of scaling, the process of scaling villains to the heroes is called power creep. It's something that's
I
common
know,
in
I know.
long running series.
No,
Yeah, the power creep is very real, and in fact, Garham actually he when he read it, he asked me about that because he's like, "How much more powerful are they going to get?" And it was a valid question because I see what he's saying. It looks like it, you know, it could be misconstrued as they had more oomph than they really did. Because I mean, they were carrying around items that enhance their abilities for one, but they're not going to get. To answer his question, because he asked me that a while ago. He when he beta read, he wrote out a whole thing and sent it to me. And that was one of the questions he asked. I never answered it, so I saw him in the chat. I should do it now.
There you go.
They do reach a point not much more powerful than you saw, but from there they don't get more. They might get more powers, but they don't get more powerful. They're not going to get more oomph. They're going to get more variety of what they can do, because you reach a point where it's like, you keep letting them get more and more and more oomph, it's going to get stupid. So yes, they do all have limits where they're all going to cap out somewhere, all the characters.
You know, and the idea behind the power creep stuff is, and as I feel that power creep in series that have a definitely like planned ending, is much better than series that just kind of keep going on because they're just really like Dragon Ball Z got ridiculous, and Dragon Ball Super is again ridiculous. God rest Akira Toriyama's soul. You know, he just passed away a little while ago, but when you have, because your character has to have what you call the oomph enough to beat the final bad guy, right? And like, if you're a storyteller, you've got to think about, okay, I am starting my character here. The final bad guy, and I think most writers there's a final bad guy.
To beat the final bad guy, not necessarily overpower.
Well, yeah, but again, to beat the final bad guy, they're gonna have to be here, right? And now, whatever that here means, whether it's just they're either smarter, they have to beat them in some way, whether it's intelligence, whether it's brute force, whether it's tact. There are ways to beat the final bad guy. There are multiple different ways, and a lot of people do choose the brute force, right? He's just gonna punch the bad guy a lot harder than he punched the first bad guy, right? Like, and I think a lot of people
beat the bad guy Rocky style.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, like, that's the only thing that matters in anime, and people disagree with me on that. I disagree with but
it's true.
The only thing that matters in anime is how hard you can punch.
Well, speaking of that and power creep, I feel like the quintessential power creep is one that, like, my favorite example of it now is Gurren Lagann. I'd never watched that before. It's a strange little anime. I think it's from the same studio that did Kill la Kill, which is a lot more popular. But
I think so.
I like it better. It starts out relatively small and goes to the absolute maximum absurdity possible. So
I know Maji asked me a question.
Yes, I saved that. I did save that in the chat. I was just waiting for us to. Well, and that absurdity.
I mean, it leans into it. You know what I mean?
So absurdity can be really fun the first time that you see it.
Yeah.
But
you can't keep going.
You can't. Well, and it's.
Oh, yes, you can.
Well,
it just gets weirder and weirder.
There are a few times. Well, let's use the Dragon Ball Z example, right? So you get into the absurdity of the Gohan versus Perfect Cell fight, right? I think if you were my generation, that was one of the coolest things to see. And by the way, that animation was done in the early 90s, and it still holds up today. That animation is fucking incredible. But you get Gohan who eventually he goes into Super Saiyan 2 mode, and the fight's just awesome. But you're seeing the culmination of a lot of years, and all of a sudden there's just this leap. There's just this leap in power, and it's just like, and it was very satisfying because, again, you just entered the absurd. This 11-year-old kid tapped into a power level that these, you know, that these fighters who are trying to just, it is something he's born with, right? But then all of a sudden you get into Dragon Ball Z and the Majin Buu stuff, and now they're getting to Super Saiyan 3. You're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Then they decanonized, you know, Dragon Ball GT. Now they're into Super. Now it's like, oh, now you're a Super Saiyan God. Now you're a Super Saiyan God Blue. Now you're going to be a, you know,
Not another transformation. What color's your hair going to turn this time?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. It's just like, and that's literally what they did. It was like, okay. But like with every one of these, it was like the absurdity level just kept going higher and higher and higher. And it gets to a point where it's like, okay, like basically, unless you're the creator of the universe, you can't stomp these guys out. And like, that's kind of part of the point of the show, right? Like you've got to beat the final bad guy. It's like, but guys, you've beaten the final bad guy like 17 times already. Like eventually the story needs to come to an end with certain things. You know?
Yeah.
They often don't. A lot of beat 'em up anime are loosely based on the old myth concept of cultivation, which is that you're capable of spending time building up a level of spiritual energy that can both make you somewhat immortal, but also reality bending in certain ways.
Dude, have you kept up with the Black Clover? Have you kept up with the Black Clover manga? Like, dude, it's to quote Chris Farley, it's knuckin' futz right now.
Yeah.
Dude, it is knuckin' futz right now, man.
In the old the cultivation myths, the characters that did those things would build them up over the span of many, many years. Sometimes some of the translations are weird. Like I think one of them talked about cultivating for 500 years. Like a person isn't supposed to live that long, but the character also was wise enough not to be like, I'm going to punch a hole through this mountain to kill you. So there was a rationale in the original myths that they that anime writers just went, nah, we're taking that break off. Screw it. This guy just builds up and goes.
I love it. I do. I'm not saying it doesn't have its problems, but I love it. Michael Harris, less powers is usually more interesting. If I'm reading something, yes. If I'm watching something, absolutely the fuck not.
Fair.
If I'm reading it, yeah, less power, because I want the character to have something to fall back on, like his wit or, you know, whatever it happens to be, personality wise, his strategy, all that stuff. If I'm sitting down to watch something, absolutely not. I don't give a shit about none of that. I just want to watch one dude.
You want the eye candy?
Oh, dude, I just want I want character A to hit character B slightly harder than he hit character A1. Like that's all I care about. I don't care about none of that other stuff. He's like, but what about the interpersonal? I don't give a shit about that. Have character A punch all the interpersonal bullshit too. I don't care. Just
like on character A1, like the steak sauce, who's he fighting? Kikoman?
It doesn't matter.
There you go.
He can just beat the shit out of everything. I don't care.
Probably one of my favorite examples of that from Kung Fu Hustle, the master killer in his frog style, and then the hero character taps into his ultimate potential and is like, does this Buddha palm thing from the sky that literally levels like a mile handprint into the ground.
I can't believe you just said Kung Fu Hustle. I have
such a great movie.
I have
dude.
Gopher Chucks.
No, that's Kung Pao.
That's Kung Pao.
Kung Fu Hustle is a comedy action film by Stephen Chow. And he lambastes the hell out of martial arts and gangster movies of the Asian cultures in this glorious film. But literally they do the cultivation thing. Like he has this moment where he's beaten to hell, and because of that it unlocks his ultimate potential. He turns into this Bruce Lee spiritual, god of martial arts. And at one point he goes straight up into the sky after knocking the bad guy down, turns, comes back down, and just goes, and like you see the ground shape into a palm print around the villain, and it's like a mile long. Like, well, if that was that's good. Dragon Ball Z in realistic CG. Look at that.
I love it. I don't care. I love shit like that. It's so good. How do we get here?
I don't know.
Power creep. That's how we got here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hey, people.
Yeah, but their powers do have limits, and the way it is I can't stand the chosen one or you're special type tropes. There's nothing wrong with them, but it's just I'm not a fan of them. So I made it something that any sentient being would have the ability to do this, but it's like any other talent. Some people have no musical talent. Some people can sing without even trying. And then there's everyone in between. Some people have to work at it. Some people can work hard and get very little. Some people get a lot. So the ability to wield magic is very much different from individual to individual. Some people have to work harder at it. Some people it comes naturally. And then what they can do with it varies from person to person quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if there are some very capable people who just never, who grew up in where magic was part of their regular life, but they never pursued that. They pursued something more athletic instead. But some people can still do a little bit, So I try to keep it varied. I try to imagine what would the world be like if everybody had that potential in them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and and that's probably one of the most interesting things that you can, that I actually do like even in anime is like, well, what kind of potential can you have? Because sometimes you can pull out some, I've been watching a channel lately that says this a lot, but sometimes you can pull out some really gangster shit with that. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that person could do that. And they just, they just happen to be really good at this, like this thing. And yeah, I do enjoy when people do that.
But the other thing is I kind of went a little different with, how they say like time is the fourth dimension and there's fifth, sixth, seventh dimension.
Yeah.
And this, no, unless they leave that reality and go to a gravity driven universe. If they go to a gravity driven universe, then they will find wormholes, time dilation, all that stuff, and including extra dimensions. But in her universe, which is electric, and this is not electric universe principle, this is just something I came up with, is instead of extra dimensions, they have different densities. Like everything is some form of electromagnetic spectrum. Everything is, even matter is just really solidified energy. And so if everything is energy and energy exists on a spectrum, then so does reality. You have different densities, where it's like you're in the same time, space, all that, but you're just in a bit of a different wavelength. So you're out of phase with, so you have first density, second density, third density. Now first density is called first density because it's the most dense aspect of the universe we can inhabit that we know of. And you can have multiple densities go, and then all the way to the final density, which is the astral plane, where it's the absolute lightest and, density of energy. So as she goes to later densities, she could do bigger things with her abilities because the energy is less dense, easier to move, but not to such a degree that it's all that noticeable or measurable, especially in the regular densities. If not that I plan on exploring it too much, but if they go like to the really light densities, like say someone discharges a blast, if they did it there, they could discharge a really big blast, but so can everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of does balance. But those born in the first density do have a magical leg up, as in they were used to just living in a more dense aspect of reality. So moving energy is going to be easier for them just a bit.
I like that. That's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And thank you to Trippy Soul, who gave me my FTL system.
Uh-oh.
Trippy.
It's called the split. When people move their ship between the densities, directly between the 2 points of the densities, you have opposing electromagnetic forces. And since you're out of phase with physical matter, it launches you off like the projectile from a railgun, but there's nothing slowing you. You're out of phase with physical matter. You can just go faster than light, no problem.
Sounds like a trippy thing to do. Yeah.
Well, I'm using electric universe theory as the basis for my physics system. So who am I going to get this kind of idea from? I need an electrician.
Yeah. Fucking hair.
That and the port gates, but
The
which are if you think of Stargate, it's not all that different, except they don't have this big like winding tunnel through space that they go through. It's a lot less dramatic. They step in one side, out the other. It's like stepping through a doorway. It's just, it doesn't sound as much fun, but having the big whatever that roller coaster wormhole is just didn't. It was inconsistent with how I set up the universe. So.
right.
And yes, I do multiverse in this, but I'm not going to have them running into variants of themselves and all that. I am so sick of that. They were in Universe 9 for the first 2 books. They're going to go to Universe 7 in Mystified Investigations and pretty much stay there till the series end. So after that, I have other things planned for Gus, who's going to go off looking for his universe of origin somewhere out in the multiverse. So, but that's him trying to find his home. I'm not going to have them running into evil versions of themselves or killing off a character and replacing them with a variant. I can't stand that. It's been so overdone. It's old. And if they go to different universes, I want them to start going to different places with different physics systems and stuff to just keep it interesting. How does their FTL system work in this other universe and things like that? And run into different people. I mean, I addressed how it works in the first book. And yes, there would be variants, but I'm not going to have them go running into each other. Perhaps a side character variant now and then, but other than that, no. It's been overplayed.
I don't.
And if a character dies, they stay dead,
as they should.
Yeah, and one thing is it doesn't make things inconsequential. Like one thing when Haley was trying to comprehend this idea at first, when she had it explained to her by one of the marshals, and she imagined, okay, every possible thing I could do is another reality, and the one I experience is based on the choice I make. And she started thinking of her life as a choose your own adventure novel where she couldn't turn the pages back. And then started trying to think, wait a minute, if I go over here, I'm going to go right, but that means I could have gone left. So now there's 2 versions of me, one that did go right, one that did go left, one soul, 2 individual spirits that are no longer aware of each other, but the soul would be aware of both. Because yes, I had to think of like, what is the spiritual cosmology of the whole setup too, if I'm doing all this. Mm-hmm. And every possibility it's like a branching set of what ifs. And she actually stops and goes, hold on. If all these Haleys are me, or if none of those Haleys are me, but they all used to be, then what am I? And when the marshal's like, you are whichever one of them you choose to be. I want the multiverse to be something of potential, not something that cheapens.
That man, dude, that reminds me of the Jet Li movie, The One.
So I have not seen that.
Not strictly. It's a little different, but
isn't it kind of like Highlander except with variants instead of other immortals or something?
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah.
Alternate dimension versions, and each one that gets killed powers up the others.
Well, but it's funny is one of the dimensions, one of the universes, is like the cops, right? Like they go out and they try to make sure that this all gets policed, and what happened, and none of the cops like knew like what exactly why it happened, but Jet Li's character, who was like the universal cop, accidentally killed one of himself in another universe because he was a villain and so on and so forth. And he realized after that he realized he started getting kind of stronger. He kind of got addicted to the power, so then he started doing jumps to the different universes and killing all of the versions of himself that he could find.
So it's kind of weird. At one hand, he's eliminating himself, but on the other hand, he's kind of integrating himself.
Yeah. But the thing is, it doesn't just go to him, it goes to all of the other ones as well.
Oh, so when it comes down to 2, it's like take the infinite amount of them and split it 50-50 and watch them go.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
It was I love that movie. I don't even give a shit.
Another one I haven't seen that was a big deal was
Unleashed.
the one with Michelle Yeoh recently. What's that one?
She's getting kinda
Everything,
old.
everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, that one. I've heard
Oh, I
great
haven't
things
seen-
about it. I
I've
have
heard
not
great
seen
things.
it.
I've not seen it.
Because I was using multiverse in my writing, I was avoiding watching other things about multiverse because I want to try and keep.
Multiverses. You're never not gonna have a wall or a plot hole, or it's multiverses. You're just gonna have to go for it.
Yeah, the you want to know the whole reason I put a multiverse and I introduced the multiverse concept in the first book. The entire reason I wanted it there.
Why is that?
One, because I hated how it was being presented in, like, the way it was being done in films. I didn't entirely hate the way Marvel started off doing it, but then it kind of got dumb. They dropped the ball. They ruined it. At first, I'm like, okay, they're doing it right, and then they didn't.
Endgame was Endgame was a horrible movie. Anybody who says Endgame is a good movie is just flat out wrong. That movie has so many fucking problems.
But what I do appreciate about Endgame was the whole. As much as I love Back to the Future, I hate their idea of time travel, and they pointed out exactly what I didn't like about it. It's like, I'm not disagreeing with your voice. There are things I loved and things I hated in Endgame. I was very split.
There are
Being a Thor fan, Endgame hurt.
I wasn't even split. There are only two scenes in Endgame that are fucking like serviceable. And I would say that they're good. Everything else in Endgame is an absolute dog shit tier of a movie. I will never watch that movie again. I watched it once. I will never fucking see that movie again. Endgame deserved to never be made. I genuinely don't like that movie. There are 2 scenes that I liked, and that was nope.
And it's too bad because it was following up such an awesome movie in Infinity War.
Infinity War, I actually really like. Like, I actually have argued that Infinity War is almost a masterpiece of a movie.
Yeah.
And I say almost a masterpiece because I'm so enamored with the movie. I think, and like I struggle to find problems in Infinity War, but I recognize that there probably could be some problems.
Andrew Campbell says Futurama did it well. There's just 2 universes.
Fringe did the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, I liked Fringe until the last couple seasons. It got dumb.
Yeah.
Up until then, it was like there was so much cool stuff they were doing. Yeah, but the whole reason I did multiverse was just in case I ran into someone else who was making their stuff. We liked each other's characters and said, gee, wish there was a way we could do something with them together. I already have a mechanic in place to allow for that. That was the primary reason I wanted a multiverse, is just so I could run into other people who had their characters and we could play Smash Bros with them or something.
There you go. No, dude, I am down. So
I'm surprised Richard's still here.
I know.
Yeah,
well,
I just now looked at the private chat. I was like, oh yeah. I was just sitting here thinking about multiverses and whatnot, and also I was imagining Royce eventually fighting like pro goat Royce. You know what I mean? So we've got our Royce, and then
Or Royce.
Did you come up with a name for that goat yet, by the way?
Goat.
yeah, the
the goat for
one
the shirts.
Royce.
No, I haven't come up with a name for them yet. I don't know.
It's
That's
gonna
because
be,
it's
yeah,
Alter
I did
Royce.
go down a wormhole there.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
and it's going to be pro goat Royce, and our Royce is just punching goats. And anyway, the other one has like a trained herd.
You really don't want to punch. You really don't want to punch goats, man. That could turn out bad. Like if
Why
I
is
They might
I
think
mean,
you're
like,
playfully
in that
headbutting them, and they'll playfully
you know,
headbutt you
and,
back, and you're on the ground.
I have guns for a reason. Like
I'm just saying, I think we know which Royce would win, and
Goyce would win.
The one with
yeah,
guns.
exactly. The goat Royce would win. So
No, it would
yeah,
not.
therefore
It doesn't
we
have
will.
guns.
The one with those thick horns that he'll headbutt you with.
But all right, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off for the night, guys. I'm dropping links for Anvil again. Enjoyed talking to everybody. I will be hanging out on Sunday, just doing a chill stream. I think I might be playing a strange little game called Sword Car, which is
the car
it's
with
pretty
swords?
simple.
I haven't heard of that
There's
one.
a car and a sword.
Sweet.
That's
And
interesting.
you
Enough
use sword
said.
car things. So
right.
I'll be checking that out. I played it just enough to kind of get a feel for it. Again, submissions are open on anvilmagazine.com. Issue 4 pre-orders go through May, and geez, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm forgetting. I know there is something that I'm forgetting, but I'll worry about that on Sunday. So
There you go.
I'll talk to you guys all later, and everybody else in the chat, have a good night.
Have a good night.
Night, Richard.
Have a good night.
Oh, shit. I was going to. I realized. I was like, and just so everybody knows, like, guys, like I said, Richard overloaded himself, not in a bad way, but he's working on a ton of stuff. So he's going to be stepping away from Iron Age Nights. So, yeah, that's something that we're going to have to rock and roll with. He'll obviously he's always going to have an open invite to come back and be and be a host, you know, whenever he wants, but he's, you know, that's going to be intermittent. So yeah, Richard is not going to he's not going to be a permanent host of Iron Age Nights, and I think here in about June. So
Bryce is devastated if you can't tell.
You fucker. Don't
He's
fucking
gonna
be like that.
He's gonna miss his boyfriend.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Well, dude, we fucking started this shit together. Like, so,
True.
But like, I mean, now, so we're in a spot where we will be looking for a new permanent Friday night host. Somebody, and I don't know what that looks like. I don't know who it is. But yeah. Richard's gonna be stepping down as a permanent host of Iron Age Nights. Obviously, he can come back, and hey, if he wants to pop in on a Friday and be a host again, he's more than welcome to. But I don't know how frequent that's gonna be. But yeah, we're here. Yeah, we're gonna be looking for the next permanent host for Iron Age Nights to come in and fill in for Richard. And I mean, I've got names in my head, but it's not really something that I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna kind of put it out there. I'll probably put it out there on X and in the Gilded, and people who are interested, I'm gonna kind of have a vetting process and figure out who we gel with and so on and so forth, because it's gonna be.
I vote for more chaos.
Well, no, we can't fucking do that. We've got to have a balance,
Yes.
motherfucker. Like,
No balance. Okay.
No balance. Nothing is balanced. Nothing. But yeah, IAK is losing.
Where's
its
Kiko on Ben?
shit.
Let's pull him out. Let's pull him back on the internet.
Right. I don't know where Kikomon's been. He might not even know. I'm actually finding out that a lot of people don't realize, and this just goes to show how often people tune in. Like, there are people that are like, oh shit, the show moved to a different channel. We didn't know. And I'm like, I kind of announced it on everywhere, but I just did it this week. So it wasn't like I gave
It's going to take a little time for it to reach the news to reach everybody.
Oh, dude, it's nerve wracking. Yep. It is. It's nerve wracking because, like, oof. Like I said, it's this is a financial risk doing this the way, but it could also be a good thing, but I don't know yet. So it's going to be a thing. Why not a female perspective? I never said there couldn't be a female perspective. I just don't know who it's going to be is the thing. And I have to go through. I actually have talked with my wife about her coming in and being a host. I've like I said, I've thought about a lot of names in my head, but it's going to be whoever's interested and who would like to be. And I want to plan something just fun for Richard's last show as a permanent host, again, he's always welcome to come in as any time that he wants to. But I understand that he's really busy and yeah, that's a big thing. It's going to be a big change to the show and something that we're going to need to figure out for sure. So, yeah, that's a lot of things are changing. The show changed channels. Like I'm focusing primarily on videos on the primary channel. The show changed channels. Now Richard's like, hey guys, I need to sleep. Our initial response was, fuck you, Richard. No, you don't need to sleep. And
sleep when you're dead.
And he said, no, guys, because if I die, I have children to take care of, and I don't want to leave them. And we
That's
were
what
like,
life insurance is for.
Yeah,
No, I'm
yeah.
kidding.
Well, and he was like, well, my life insurance won't take care. It was a very long conversation. We're like, all right, fine, Richard, you can go take care of your kids, whatever. It's just
Fine. Go be a responsible adult. God.
It was a long conversation. No, but yeah, there's just a lot of things. And what's funny is it always comes in threes. Like, and
yes,
I don't know.
You can, Resident One.
What's going
all
on?
chaos.
We
He
can't
says
have
we
Royce.
can't have Royce, Drinky, Smurf, and another chaos creator as hosts. Yes, you can.
We could.
And
don't
it
know
shall
who-
be glorious.
I don't know who it'd be though. One of the ideas tossed out is, what if you guys had like a monthly host, like a person that comes in just for that month? And I'm like, no, dude, it's hard enough to schedule fucking guests. I am not scheduling a monthly.
Yeah,
call.
you don't want to take on that sort of stress
fuck
as well.
That shit, dude. Have a good night, animation overload. Speaking of, fuck, I'm actually getting fucking tired.
Yeah, well, I'm an old fart on the East Coast, and I get home from work, and I go on Gilded, and I start looking in the chat to see who might be in VC or whatever, and nobody's around. And then just as I'm, being the East Coaster and everybody else is in the later time zones, just as I'm calling it a night, everybody's popping online. I'm like, great.
Oh, dude, it's funny. Everybody's just like, hey, we're going into voice chat. It's like 9 o'clock. And I'm going to bed. And I'm like, and I wake up in the morning and people are like, good night, everybody. And I'm like, that was a half hour ago. And I'm like, I'm literally waking up like at 4 o'clock in the morning and people are all saying good night like a half hour before that. I'm like, you guys are insane.
Yeah. But
I'm East Coast, but I'm too busy.
And then there's like Black Knight, Devil's Air, Radio Retro Future. They're all off in
all the
6-7 hours ahead of us. So they're in the next day before we even hit the rack.
Yeah, no, that's a thing. Yeah, God, that's a thing.
Was it Nikolai? He's over there too.
Yeah. There's quite a few that are across the pond for sure. Then like Michael Harris, he's over there. Yeah, we've got quite a few people that are across the pond and in different countries. And my Gilded, because I don't turn any of the notifications for Gilded off at all. So my phone just goes off all fucking night.
Yeah. Then there's Star Fury. He's in England.
Oh, yeah.
So we got time zones all over the place.
True. Yeah, it's no kidding.
One time I was talking online with someone in Perth, Australia. Exactly 12 hours difference. If it was 6 a.m. there, it was 6 p.m. there.
Oh, that's cool.
Except I think they were a day ahead or something, or at least half the time they were a day ahead. I don't know. It hurts my brain thinking about time zones. That's why I picked a system with no time dilation. Gives me a headache.
Dude, so what's funny is you guys all know Convoy Bebop. He pops in the chat once in a while. He's a truck driver and drove all across the country for a long time. And I also used to but I'm used to talking with people across time zones all the time. So what's funny is he and I know what time zone he and I are in. So if I tell him 6 o'clock, he understands he's an hour ahead of me. So it just translates to his head at 7. Well, when he and I are in a conversation together with other friends of ours and we all say, hey, we're going to start gaming at this time. And he'll be like, yeah, we're going to start gaming at 7 o'clock. I hear 6 o'clock in my head because he's in Florida. So he's an hour ahead. You know what I mean? Our friends hear 7 o'clock. and their 7 o'clock is his 9 because they don't translate in their brain. Like, and we're like, no, bro, we said 7 o'clock Florida time. And they're like, I didn't, like, you said 7 o'clock. I'm like, fuck, no. Well, like, no, he was saying, hey, he said he was going to jump on at 7, which means that he's talking about his time zone. And they were like, and our friend was like, how the fuck
Time
do you
zones.
guys even communicate? I'm like, ugh. It's, I don't know. Yeah, you just, when you get used to shit like that, you just start like auto mathing in your head and you're just like, all right, I know when I'm going to be on. Like, yeah. It's great. So, right.
Did Maji-chan have a question we didn't answer?
Yes, maybe, because I started. Maji-chan says, Wrangler, why did you pick the Egyptian goddess to aid the humans?
Because cat theme. The whole idea is remember, it's called Bad Kitty for a reason. One Bad Kitty was her nickname because when she was a toddler, she would knock glasses off the table and laugh. And her mom said, "You're just like a bad kitty." And it kind of stuck. Her dad still calls her that on the walkie-talkie. But the whole idea was launching cat. Obviously, it can't have part of the narrative that she's launching cats out of a potato gun. That's just, see, when you think of things as a video game on the surface level, it would make perfect sense, but when you try and give it a narrative explanation, things tend to break down. One of the examples I love giving is Castlevania. You whip a certain wall, the bricks break, and there's a turkey dinner sitting there to restore your health. Correct. Cool. Game mechanic, you're like, oh, good, health restored, awesome. When you sit and think about it from a narrative standpoint, why did they put food in the wall? Who said, I just baked this awesome dinner, it's so good, I'm going to brick it in the wall? It's like, so how do you make things make a narrative sense? When she gathers up her energy and discharges it for a blast, as it shoots forward, it kind of elongates a little and takes on the shape, kind of a kittenish shape. So it looks like a little plasmatic kitten rocketing at you. And it cool. Bursts into when it hits, you get a small but potent concussive burst. It doesn't burst into a ball of fur, but I needed, like, the whole idea was blasting kittens at bad guys out of a potato gun. How can I do this without, like, blasting actual kittens? That would not be very friendly,
You should look up chicken nuke. I'm dead serious.
Chicken nuke? Yeah, you have my attention.
It's a thing that the U.S. government tried to do.
I am very curious about this.
You should
chicken
look it up because it can be explained better than I can.
Okay, I will probably look that up tomorrow.
Like, what was it? Yeah, it was. I believe it was.
I'm gonna look that up now.
But yeah, no, that it was they tried to guide nuclear missiles with chickens, and also
chicken-powered nuclear bomb.
He found it. You can also.
It's actually called Project Blue Peacock.
Yes, you. You can also.
And it wasn't the U.S. It was a British tactical nuclear weapons project in the 50s.
Oh. Well, you can also look up the time that we strapped incendiary bombs to bats and. And it was actually highly fucking successful. Or
how about using pigeons as an aiming device?
We did that too. That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, they used pigeons as a pigeon nuke. Look up pigeon nuke. Look up pigeon. Yeah,
A technical problem is that during winter, the temperature of buried devices can drop quickly, creating a possibility that the mechanisms of the nuclear mine will cease working due to low temperatures in the winter. Various methods were studied to solve this problem, such as wrapping the bombs in insulating blankets. One proposal suggested that live chickens would be sealed inside the casing with a supply of food and water. They would remain alive for approximately a week. Their body heat would apparently have been sufficient to keep the mine's components at a working temperature.
Look up the pigeon.
Oh, this is for the birds.
Look up pigeon guided nukes.
Apparently, Project Blue Peacock's file was declassified on April 1st, 2004, and a bunch of people thought it was an April Fool's joke.
Gee, I wonder why. But
Dude, we learned some
anyway,
shit, dude.
anyway, to finish the Bastet bit, this isn't really much of a spoiler since it's right. It happened. The first chapter is 6 pages long, and this happens in chapter 2. So, what it is so some of the gods don't interfere with mortals. Reason being is they don't die. They befriend mortals. Mortals die. It becomes painful. They've pretty much backed off. They're thought of as a myth at this point. Well, Bastet and some others were actually trapped by a binding spell. But Bastet is one of the best at phasing through barriers that there is. Although she can only kind of project her image, and Haley was one of the few around that she could project to. And because Haley was the right kind of person, her energy was like, it resonated well with hers. Bastet lent some of her energy to Haley to help Haley get in tune with her field. But after that, so that's why the cat blasts. So after that, she didn't get her powers from Bast. Bast just helped her tune into her field. And because of Haley's empathic abilities and Bast is empathic, that's why she was able to help, because it's not something that could just easily be done. In fact, at one point, Haley says, "Can't you give Elizabeth powers like you did me?" And she's like, "No, I didn't give you powers." It's the potential that's in all sentient beings, and she just tapped into that. But because of that, now there's a reason why when she shoots her blast, they have a kitten shape. There's a reason. I have a narrative reason, and there's more details to how it works, but a narrative reason for how she gets power-ups from cats. Like I said, in a video game, it would make sense. From a narrative standpoint, I have to make it make sense.
Are you a cat person?
I always have been.
Damn it.
I know you're not a cat fan, and I don't blame you for being upset when they trash your coffee pot. That pissed me off too.
Dude, that was, oh God, you reminded me of that. Fuck.
Dude, I felt so bad I immediately sent a super chat to help replace your coffee pot.
Cats.
My wife, when I told her what happened, my wife was genuine, because I don't like cats. I don't like them as an animal. My wife finds these hurt things and she goes, "Oh, look, it's hurt." And they all fucking flock to me, the little fuckers. But anyway, so she brings the fucking things home. But here's the thing. We either nurse them to health or I will put them down. That's where I'm at.
Sometimes you unfortunately have to. It's not fun. Even for a critter you don't like, it's still not fun.
No. And I'm not some heartless bastard or anything
Oh,
like that.
I know.
But we try to find homes for them or whatever. But anyway, they come. But dude, when the fucking a full pot of coffee, I was getting ready for Sunday coffee, and the cat tried to jump up on the fucking fridge, caught a piece of paper, came down and just started fucking flailing, and took the coffee pot to the ground. When my wife heard what happened, her exact words were, "I cannot believe it's not dead." Dude, because I was here's the bad. I was shaking, dude. Because she already knew, because we have a fair amount of cats in the house, and she knows that I have problems with the animal. I just don't like them. But I was kind of already at my, you need to start fucking getting rid of them, like finding homes for them. Like I was already, I was at my limit with these fucking things. And then that happened, and I had 5 minutes until the live stream went live. And I was shaking.
Probably what saved the cat, because you didn't have time to kill him.
I didn't have time to go get the 9. I thought about it, dude. I was like, I was like, I would have to run upstairs, grab the 9, throw a mag in, rack the slide, run back downstairs, find the cat, which is obviously not going to be in the same fucking area that I just left.
Then I started blasting.
So then I'm not that was a bad day. That was not, and it's still around.
Yeah.
Its name is Noodles. Like I said, I'm not a cat fan. I will
And
not
it
be
shall
mean to
have
the.
its revenge.
Oh, dude, I was
Maybe you should rename the cat to Mercy because it's the only reason he's still here.
dude. It's a she, and I
Or she.
mm.
But I understand your dislike for cats, and that does not help at all. That would push it over the edge. I understand. But I still can't help but shout out Hero Darky Dark, who says cats are awesome. I can't disagree with him.
I can absolutely disagree with him. We have retarded cats. They shit in the litter box, and then they sit there and they scratch the wall, thinking that that's what buries the shit in the litter box. And they wake me up at 2:30 in the morning.
Maybe if they knock the wall down, then the shit goes away.
Maybe if I can't say that. Can't say. Oh, fuck you, Mario Trujillo.
Well,
Oh.
my cat, he's sometimes here's a case of water, the opening here. He sometimes, when it's on the floor, he goes and he sticks his head in there and starts licking the inside of the case.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night we were doing a wing it, and everybody was talking about their dogs and how smart they are, Hayes was over there with his head in the water bottle thing, and like, oh yeah, my dog's this smart, my dog's that smart. I looked over and I looked at the camera and said, my cat's licking plastic. It's like,
Yeah.
he is. He loves licking plastic. I don't know why.
My dogs are just as retarded as the cats that we have. It's not like my dogs are any fucking smarter. It's just I think that the dogs have more of a respect that I like, dude.
Dogs have more of a social streak than cats do.
I just don't
This
like
is true.
I don't like the demeanor that cats have as an animal. Now we have one cat in the house I do actually like because she was preemie. And by preemie, like should have died preemie. Like I actually like took her and like and she was like legitimately like this big because she was 2 or 2.5 weeks preemie, should have died. All the vets told her she should have died. Actually, her 4 brothers and sisters died within the first week. Her one brother that lived longest, made it a week, and he actually passed away. But dude, I remember like taking this cat, putting it under my shirt, and just so it could breathe and have a heartbeat, like because we were again. You try to keep them alive or you put them out. And these are babies. They're not even bigger. They're legit not even bigger than my palm. They're tiny. Yeah. And so we're doing, we're getting her to drink through the bottle nipple. Well, she starts not being able to go to the bathroom. So, yeah, but we just so happened to have a German Shepherd who had puppies, who is looking at this little kitten like, oh, that's my baby. I'm going to help. And so I literally was just like, lady, here. And so lady, our German Shepherd, starts licking, the anus and the vagina of.
Oh, good. That'll get things flowing again, actually.
Exactly. And it is because of our German Shepherd that this cat survived. Her name
German
is Mira.
Shepherds are an amazing breed.
Oh yeah, well, and she was a German Shepherd mix. She was a mutt, but it was because of Lady, we actually had just put Lady down. We just put Lady down.
My condolences.
Just after Christmas, but it's because of Lady that Mira survived, and this little kitten, was raised around because once she got big enough to walk on her own and stuff like that, like Lady was like, oh, that's my baby, that's my because again she was a mom because she already had a litter or two of puppies. And so Mira was raised around dogs. And so Mira has a totally different attitude than any of the other cats. She's reserved, but when you sit on the couch, she comes up. She wants to sit on your lap. She does that. She doesn't do annoying shit outside of eat bread. Like you can't leave like bread, even in a bag on the counter. Like she'll eat the bread, but like that's irritating. But again, I've got dogs and they'll be just like, no, something's on the counter. Fuck yeah. So, but Mira, very, very different cat. Very, 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 very different cat. Yeah. Otherwise, whipping that with a wet hand towel. We did that Resident 1 and it didn't work. We actually did the wet hand towel. The wet hand towel, we tried hand towels. We tried paper towels. We tried microfiber. and nothing worked. But Lady came over, and I was like, "Here, Lady, help me out." And Lady helped me out. Man, she was the best. She was the best dog on the planet. But yeah, it's but yeah. So I don't, like I said, I just don't like cats as an animal. I'm not gonna be a dick to them. I don't. I see anybody be a dick to a cat, they're gonna not have a fun day. They're gonna breathe through a new hole.
I understand that feeling. That's how I feel about Chihuahuas. But if I see somebody abuse a Chihuahua, I'm gonna go at them just as quick as any other critter.
Yeah,
You know.
Right.
But I do understand the dislike for them. But some of the things I do appreciate about cats, though, is they're actually quite amazing. How they move, their hunting prowess, their agility and acrobatics is like. I see these little critters doing things I could never physically do. I could never move like that. That's amazing. Some of the things they pull off, and some of the. I know this one cat named Dude, born with no eyes, little genetic defect. And so I started calling him Dude Devil
so you're
because
already like talking him up. You're like, yeah, he was born with no eyes. It's like, well, yeah, but
this cat jumped up into the air and swatted at a fly and hit him. No eyes. That's amazing.
I'm not saying that he's not, but anybody with no eyes that does anything is fucking amazing. That's why we literally made a superhero called fucking Daredevil. Like, look, he's got
yeah.
no
We started
eyes.
calling him Dude Devil because I don't know how he got the name Dude. It just stuck. But then when he started moving around, we moved the furniture. He goes to the middle of the room and just walks in a spiral, starts moving back out, and pretty much relearns the new arrangement, and he's good. It's incredible.
They can feel it on their whiskers, I have actually heard. It's the whiskers, and yeah. So.
Yeah. Those aren't whiskers. Those are antenna. They're all transmitting and plotting. My son Logan sent me a meme the other day. There's a picture of a cougar. It says, "If I ever get eaten by a mountain lion, just know that my last words were, 'Here, kitty, kitty.'"
Oh.
And they're putting that into Gilded. It was too funny.
Yes. Oh. Wrangler?
Yeah.
I might have to call this a little short, but I'm getting tired, buddy. I need to go stand up. I don't know.
Yeah, no problem.
Maybe we go hang out for a few and chat in the back room for a little while, but I can't. I'm starting to fade if I keep sitting here. So.
Oh, no problem. I'm not used to going past 2 hours anyway. Except was it last week or the week before where we were on Kahuna's channel and we were doing the review of you heard about that, right? Kahuna was gifted fourth wing, and so we all read it with him and did a review on his channel, and because he didn't want to read it, so we all kind of suffered with him, so to speak, and so. But unfortunately, he because of where he was, he didn't have good signal, and he ended up dropping off of his own thing. He got the signal booted him off his own stream for like a half hour. So we were there for like over 3 hours when it was
hilarious.
A good chunk of it. Kahuna puts on an awesome show. It was a bummer that his internet wasn't cooperating that night, but he was in a remote location. But he actually. He did a little voice work for some of my videos. Redoubt does the thumbnails on those. I mean, the whole panel over there, they're just fantastic. I mean, yeah, that was on Kahuna's channel, but he's regular on the panel. And it really is a joy being able to hang out with all of them once a week and just talk about whatever.
No, I tune in when I can. When I'm not busy, I tune in when I can. And I stop pop in, say hi. And But Wrangler, where can we find you? What do you do? And where can we find your books?
You can find my books on Amazon, and pretty much since I also publish them through Ingram Spark, you could probably find them anywhere from even Walmart.com. It'll pop up. And I got curious, went and searched it on Google just to see what, and stores and websites I never heard of have it available. Because I think when you do it through Ingram Spark, they filter it out through all the channels and just make it accessible to all of them. But the ebook is only available on Amazon, the Kindle. I didn't set it up through Ingram Spark for ebook. So it's only, you can only get ebook there. But primarily through Amazon. You can also find me in my Wrangler channel. It's easiest to find me by typing in @Wrangler212.
Or you guys can click the absolutely awesome link that I just dropped down in the chat. If you guys are not subscribed, just go click that link and you guys will be able to find him right there.
Yep. And I do have a Frequency Studios YouTube channel. However, right after I set that up, I soon after tried to set up StreamYards. And even though Frequency and Wrangler are on the same email, StreamYards would only hook up to Wrangler. It would not hook up to Frequency. I could not figure out why. So that's why I'm on the Wrangler channel instead of Frequency. I meant to kind of do all this with the Frequency. I set it up and then couldn't use it. It's there, but I should probably start moving some stuff over to there too.
Yeah, it depends on what you got going on, man. I will say this: YouTube is it's not as complicated as a lot of people think, but there are kind of obvious things that. But anyway, that's a whole big different conversation.
Yeah, you're already fading, and that'll turn into a big discussion.
My thing is, I think I just need to stand up. Mr. Daniel P. Riley, where can we find you? What do you do?
You can find me as usual on the Twix at Mr. DP Riley or whimsyland.org, and potentially I may be launching GSEDI 2 directly on the whimsyland.org website. Whoa. As opposed to any other system using the wonderful program that Ray Haylock has created.
He reached out to me about talking about that. We might have to have him on the show. Let me know how that works.
Will do.
Because I'm very interested in that. And
same.
Because that could be very interesting. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here on Iron Age Nights, episode 81. I appreciate you all coming over to the new channel. Big leap of faith over here, it not being monetized. So if you guys do get a chance to go check out the merchandise in the merch store over at the Teespring, or you know what, better yet, let's just do it this way, guys. If you would like to support this channel, all right, think about checking out the merch or the direct donation link through PayPal, or you guys can also go over to Rumble, where you can super chat, locals.com, where you can super chat. I do have live chats going on over there because this is a big leap of faith, and it's kind of terrifying starting a new channel that's not monetized. But when you play games on YouTube, you've got to play the games the YouTube way. And all of that being said, even outside of the monetization, you guys have been here with me for multiple years now. So thank you all so much. And I will see you all on Sunday, where I read all of your comments. Oh my goodness. President 1, I miss your messy background. It's still there. It's just over there.
He's hiding it. Shamed.
I may try to move the desk. I might have my wife come down. We'll move the desk, and I might get that angle back because I was thinking about it. Then I have to move the lights again. Damn it. What a pain in the ass.
Quit going with the gay virtual backgrounds.
Fuck off. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here on Iron Age Nights. I will see you all on Sunday Coffee. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.